and they will each have 2 minutes to do that. I will close with my parting thoughts. But first, what is proportional representation? When I posted on social media that we were having this debate and I wanted people's contribution, a lot of the contributions bordered around what is PR. They didn't know that. It is a type of electoral system under which the number of seats a party gets in parliament is determined by the percentage of votes the party wins in an election. So the seats are distributed proportionate to how the people voted. The essence of such a system is that all votes contribute to the results. That's what the proponents believe. Not just a plurality of a simple majority in which the winner takes all in a single member constituency. This can cover an entire nation, in which case the whole country serves as a single constituency, or by district or province, in which case that geographical area serves as a constituency. This explains why in 1996, Sierra Leone tried a system that used the whole country as a single constituency. In that case, political parties drew up a list of the total number of nationwide seats in parliament. In 2002, it was modified to the district block system. Under that system, each district served as one constituency, and the parties contesting in each district prepared a list totaling the number of parliamentary seats allocated to that district by the then independent National Electoral Commission. In all this, there is a threshold which a party must hit to be considered for a seat in parliament. It varies from country to country, just like the PR system itself has varied forms. The threshold was 5% of votes won in 1996. That was how the DCP, Democratic Center Party, predominantly voted for in Kono districts, and the NUP, mostly from the base of the then MPRC, got seats in parliament. And that was also how in 2002, Johnny Paul Koroma, believed to have been voted for mostly by the security forces, got a seat in parliament under his PLP party. The most widely used varieties of PR electoral systems are the party lists, PR, which is practiced in more than 80 countries around the world, more or less the same as we practiced here in 2002 and in 1996. The arguments in the lead up to the 1996 and 2002 elections included that a large swathe of the country at the time could not be accessed, and that constituency boundaries could not be delimited due to the war and the struggle to establish central government authority throughout the country. Critics of the new proposal argue, among other things, that unlike then in 96 and 2002, every corner of Sierra Leone is now accessible and the boundaries are clearly delimited. Proponents, however, say, among other things, that more than ever before, Sierra Leone has been sharply divided in the last decade. Hence, the PR system is needed for national cohesion. Whatever your take is on this, we'll listen to our panelists. And I'll start with Ambassador Mbaba Kamara, who has 4 minutes to make his case for proportional representation being the best for national cohesion and for democracy. Starting now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Your just short resume, just short brief introduction has more or less made the thing quite clear for us. You mentioned that the pros and cons of proportional as against the first past the post system, and the two elections that have been held under the PR system as against the first past the post system. Well, let me say here, before I start my short presentation, what I'm going to say here, I want to enter a disclaimer here, because there are a lot of discussions going on now on this system, on both the Poe and Crow systems in Parliament, I understand. What I'm saying here is purely my own material and my own belief in the system that I'm going to present, that I'm going to advocate for. Nobody has influenced me, no of the parties. I'm neither here nor there. They are mine and mine alone. I understand there is a bill before Parliament now to usher in the proportional representation for our next elections next year. Much as I thought is the best system for our country, considering this current situation in our country, I also believe that a lot of people after this discussion might be swayed to believe to support the proportional representation model. But they are also equally, what should I say, the way and manner in which I understand the bill has been presented to Parliament make them very skeptical. On this 11th hour, less than a year to elections, presenting a very serious bill, which I understand also is a little bit has pregnated with some other issues, make people very more or less a little bit uneasy about what is going on. I don't know what is on there. I don't know much about the bill, but what I know is I'm very passionate about the PR system, in particularly for a country like us, Sierra Leone, considering our current situation. Let me start my short presentation before my time winds up.
So 1 minute to go.
Yes. When I was a diplomat, each time I come to Sierra Leone, I will call on the foreign minister and the president. And before I leave, the president, normally he will come and say, why can't you say goodbye to me? In some of our meetings, he will ask me, okay, you've come like a stranger, what are your observations? Thankfully, in 2016, when I came, towards the end of his tenure, after our discussions, I politely asked him, I said, Mr. President, sir, he said yes.
Who is that president, please?
Tijan Kaba, Amel Tijan Kaba. Yes. 2016 it was Amel Tijan Kaba. 2006, sorry. 2006, sorry. So I asked him politely, I said, please, sir, because he doesn't want me to call him Your Excellency. He said, that is too formal between us. He said, just say, my brother. I said, just please, sir, after our discussion, can I?
Complete your sentence. Just your sentence.
Please give me 1 minute, 1 or 2 minutes. I said, can I ask a question? He said, yes, please go ahead. I said, please, sir, you've enjoyed 2 peaceful general elections under your watch. Now, 1996 and 2002. I think the country was at war. And these elections went very, very smoothly, very, very peacefully and smooth. He said, yes. I said, well, why do you want to go into a system, want to take us back into a system that over the years we all know, because some of us have suffered have practiced out of experience, those 2 systems have the benefit of having witnessed the 2 systems.
Ambassador, I'm afraid I've got to stop you there. I'll come back to you later during the second round. You definitely will have another bite of the cherry.
Okay.
Dr. Julius Spencer, your 4 minutes start now.
Thank you. There are many types of proportional representation systems. But as the moderator said at the start, we have practiced the party list system in Sierra Leone. First national list, then district list. There are other systems. There are the single transferable vote, which is fairly complicated, where people basically rank the candidates, and there's a system for selecting who goes through. I don't fully understand it. Even under the list system, there is the open list, there is a closed list. So there is no one formula that suits everybody. My belief, I've started arguing for proportional representation since 2008. I believe very strongly for a number of reasons. One, we had 2 elections under the proportional representation system. They were both peaceful. Prior to that, elections were rigged, they were violent, etc. We went back to district to constituency-based elections, violence started again. And each time it has gotten worse. I believe it's going to get even worse next year. So I believe we need to back up. We need to back up and find a system that will enable us to work together as a people. What we find now is the party wins elections, it takes everything. Those who are in opposition, right after the election, all they are concerned about is how do we get those out of power? Those who are in power, how do we stay in power? That's what the focus is. Therefore, there isn't enough focus on national development. We cannot arrive at a consensus as a people as to what we want. The country is now divided sharply down the middle, east and south, west and north, to a large extent. Our parliamentarians have become the breadwinners for their constituencies because people no longer understand what the role of a parliamentarian is. You have a funeral, you have a wedding, your child is sick, you want to put your daughter through Bondo, you go to your parliamentarian. So the parliamentarians, their salaries will never be enough for them because they have all these pressures. Now, I believe that under a proportional representation system, we will not have all of those pressures. First of all, if it's a party list system, it is the party that becomes the focus, no longer the individual. Although you could even have a system under the PR list system, well, why can't we have party primaries in each district for those who should be on the list? It's not impossible. So my view is that, yes, proportional representation, but we need to have a lot of discussion and dialogue to agree on what we want and what would best suit us. We cannot rush into it, I don't believe. Now, there are lots of things that we need to look at. We need to look at, if we take even the methodology for deciding on the number of seats a party gets, it cannot be blanket. If we go into districts, for example, there may be 10 seats in one district and there are 15 in another, and there are 5 in another. How can you have just the same percentage? If you have 5 seats, you divide the number of seats, 100 by the number of seats. Then you know what a party has to get 1 seat. If you have 20 seats, same principle applies. That's my view. But I also believe that proportional representation should cut across all levels, not just parliament, the executive, the number of ministers, ambassadors, etc. you get should be proportional to the votes that you have received. Local government, you have what they call the ward committees. It is those who win that determine who gets onto the ward committees. Now, if there's a proportional representation system, even if you are voting for one person, based on the proportion of votes you get, will determine the number of people you have on that ward committee. My view is that this system will get rid of a lot of the tension. It will enable us to focus on national development issues. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Spencer. Leonard Thompson, you are against the motion. Tell us why, please.
I'm against the motion. I think electoral reform is at the heart of this state here. First of all, before I go on to mine, I want to take an issue with the actual motion of the day. It says true democracy. Now, in my opinion, there is no such thing as a true democracy. Even in the oldest and mature democracies that we have, democratic governance has to be nurtured. It's a process. It's a process that is influenced by our experience, socialization, and also political culture. In my estimation, the type of electoral system that we have does not dictate how we practice our own representative democracy. In Sierra Leone, we have used first past the post as a scapegoat for our ills of our society. Now we want to substitute PR as the prescription to solve our failure to examine our collective national vision and our identity as a nation state. It should be noted that no electoral system can be described as best or can be said to be suitable for all. We need to look at all facets of our society to address our problems of violence, of poverty, and also seeing the idea that politics is a pathway to wealth. And we also have to ensure that we look critically at our development politically, economically, and socially. Furthermore, when we talk about PR being democratic and representative, we have to respect the tenets of democracy without adhering to the principles of democratic governance. Whatever system of PR is introduced will not change our governance system. Yeah? Now, we talk about national cohesion. It is important. I think we are all afraid of 2023 because the tension is so high. But you cannot say with PR that would lessen the tension, because we have failed, as I said earlier, to examine the cause of those tensions. Introducing PR, to my estimation, would be recycling the tension, moving it from one space to another space. Now, so we have to look at issues of so we have to look at issues that is, what is the problem of cohesion in Sierra Leone? And one of the problems of cohesion is our governance system. We lack the type to ensure that we adhere to democratic governance. It is lip service for us in Sierra Leone. Changing an electoral system would not change that unless we adhere to this idea of democracy that we all speak about. Therefore, it involves more than electoral change. It means we have to ensure that there is inclusive politics. First past the post system also provides for inclusive politics, because the onus is on those in power, those in the parties, to include others in the party. What we have had is that certain sections of our society feel that they do not belong in the political space. PR, yes.
Yes, just end that sentence. End that sentence, please.
I will just conclude. So we need inclusive type of politics. So therefore, I submit to the House, PR does not guarantee us an enhancement of the democratic space, nor does it guarantee us national cohesion, because we have yet to truly address the issues of structural violence in our society.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Lena. Fatmata Sore?
Yeah. So I'm against the motion of the House, and I will start by saying that no electoral system is perfect, and that is true for proportional representation as well. But we cannot sit here and discuss these issues without talking about the pros and cons of proportional representation and determine whether these pros and cons outweigh their political advantages of the electoral system, especially considering our 1991 Constitution, which is an enshrined document, supreme law of the land, that guarantees these a particular type of election for which in 2002, before a PR system was implemented, the president then had to go to Parliament for an amendment then to allow the PR system to go through. One of the arguments I've heard about proportional representation has been that it takes into account the representation based on the system, and minority people have a voice. I have no problem with minority people having a voice. The problem I have is with the legislative gridlock that we sense with PR system, the disconnect between the populace and the representatives in Parliament. The fact that in a democratic society where since I've turned 18, I've been known to make a choice as to who represents me, and I can cast a vote to determine that, and that is taken away from me and given to a party and a nucleus of few individuals that will take us back to what seemed like a one-party system within the parties themselves. And so competition becomes inter-party competitions amongst the individuals within the parties compete amongst themselves for position in the list and for hierarchy on the list. Who determines that? Only a few people. Yes, they're saying people vote, but we know very well that the system that we have and what we have observed over the years, it turns out that power circulates around just a few, and we don't want that. We have a situation where in countries where they have practiced the PR system, they say the minority parties hold the tail that wags the dog. And that is because they have a lot of influence over the decision-making of the majority party. And that's especially in certain circumstances where there is not absolute majority, but there's representation. And the minority parties can determine to tip the scale in favor of certain policies. And that is the gridlock for our legislation that will worry us, because as poor citizens, we would suffer. Additionally, the citizen of Sierra Leone, look at the dynamics. We have to look at our literacy rates, and introducing a PR system will change and cause a lot of difficulty. Already as it is, when we've done the, several elections, we still have void votes, and we still have challenges with people going to vote and understanding how to vote. And then now we're thinking of having a situation when the PR system comes in, voting systems change, tally systems change, ballot counting changes, and so it requires a lot of training of the officials. Then you come to budget and expenses. As a country, we're always crying for budget reallocation and non-availability of funds, and we go into a system where we're changing our electoral system. It requires robust education of the populace, first of all, because I'm sure when I go to the village and tell my people that you can no longer decide on who represents you in Parliament, they will be offended. Don't think that because they're uneducated, they don't know their rights. And democracy is the will of the people. How will the people exercise their will if the right to vote is taken away from them and a list is actually developed by the parties? And don't forget that with the proportional representation list, whether it's closed or open list, that it's based on the hierarchy on the list that you get to make into Parliament. So if your party gets 30%, only 30% of your members on that list will make it. That doesn't mean that expresses who the people want to represent them, and that doesn't mean that as a representative you know the constituents that you're going to be representing. So that disconnect is why we're against the motion of the House. I believe the problem in this country is not so much with the electoral system. It is with the political culture that we have imbibed in our people, in the citizens' mind, and the mindsets of the people, that politics comes with violence, and the fact that people are not held accountable for the violence that is perpetrated. If people see that people who do perpetrate violence are actually held to books, then we would have a situation where we'd not need to change the system, but to change our minds. It will be...
Thank you very much, Minister. We'll come back to you shortly. And it's rebuttal time. I'm not sure who goes first in terms of wanting to rebut or respond to whatever thing that has been said by those on the other side. Ambassador Kamara, it seems you want to.
Thank you very much. I have listened to the two speakers, and they couldn't be far from the truth. First and foremost, what proportional representation does is that it makes the country as one constituency. For instance, when you practiced since 1996, the party in which I belonged had representatives in almost all the districts.
But that's our point, Ambassador.
No. Hold
Those
on.
who come on the top of the list
Yes.
are not determined by the voters, but by the party.
But when you talk of a one country, when you talk of a national party, it should get the nation to represent it. Right. You're talking of All People's Congress, it should be All People's Congress, the country people. You talk of one people, one country, it should be the people of this country. In 1996, after the elections, you talk about SLPP, you had people from the north, from the south, from the east represented in parliament. You talk of PDP, which is represented, we have the leader of the party in parliament were from the south. You had two from Pujaun, you had a member of parliament from Kenema, you have a member of parliament from McKinney, you had from Freetown. It was a national party. That's how we should look at it. And people misunderstand the role of members of parliament. Member of parliament, to us, we see as somebody who, as my brother here already alluded to, who goes and pays children's school fees, big bridges there, try to do certain things. That's not the role of the member of parliament. The role of the member of parliament is to legislate, to make good laws for the citizens of this country. And also, the member of parliament is to have what they call oversight committees in the parliament, to go around and see what is happening. You don't take the role of the local council, whose responsibilities it is to make the roads, to do certain things. Why do members of parliament become corrupt? Because they are being taxed to do certain things. That's not the role of member of parliament. People look up and say, oh, I don't have a member of parliament. No, you have. The district has members of parliament. Approach them, whether they are members of your party or not. They should solve your problems. Not your problems of paying your children's school fees, problems of paying your children's medical bills. No, that's not what a member of parliament is for. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. Dr. Spencer, among other things, Lena spoke about the fact that it is, well, I think they both did, the political culture is the problem, to the extent that if you don't fix that, no matter the electoral system, you'll still be saddled with that.
Exactly. How do you fix the political culture? That's the question. That's the question. I agree with all they said. But what we disagree on is the pathway. How do we get to where we want to get to? If we stick with this system, we're never going to get there. It's only going to get worse. That I am sure, I can guarantee that. And we've had proportional representation for 2 elections. And the evidence indicates that it was peaceful. I was a member of a cabinet which came out of a proportional representation system. I sat in cabinet with people from many parties, PDP, SLPP, UNPP. We're all in cabinet. But the president was the leader, and we followed the leader. So the question, I don't understand this question of gridlock. Why would we have gridlock?
Was that an advantage of the system or probably the magnanimity of the president at the time?
It was a combination of both. Or it was a combination of both. I agree, because the individual has a great influence on how the government works. But if the system is such that the focus is on winning an election and taking everything, and those who lose, all they're interested in is how do we get them out of power, they're not concentrating on how we build this nation, we will never get to where we want to get to. My position is that yes, we have all of those problems. We have problems of our political culture which has developed over the years. We have all kinds of problems. We will not solve them if we retain this winner-take-all system. It can only get worse. It was not as bad as this in 2007, 2012, and 2018. It's getting worse each time. Now, if you don't belong, you don't get anything. That is the attitude. So if we're all working together as a people collectively, we are agreeing, we disagree, we agree, we discuss and we debate, we arrive at consensus. That is my position.
Thank you very much. Lena, I'll come back to you. Ambassador Dada Kamara here, Mbaba Kamara, said something to me last year. He said, Umaru, if you went to Parliament in 1996 and said to the SLPP part of Parliament, you said, Piari, people who were MPs would respond, Topia, who were Timness. and that if you turned to the PDP and APC areas and said, Bua, somebody would say this year. In other words, he's saying that if you go there now, if you say PRA to the SLPP, nobody will respond. If you say Bua to the SLPP, to the APC side, nobody will respond. The parliament is mono-ethnic on either side. Don't you think going back to a system that brings us back to where we are is better?
First of all, Umaru, I need you to correct my name. It's Lina.
Lina! Thank you.
Sorry about that. Does that say under the first past the post system that cannot be achieved?
Well, as we are now, it seems so.
Well, because it goes back to a political system and the political parties. At the end of the day, political parties are there to win election. At the end of the day, political parties are there not only to have their own supporters, but also to entice those who might not necessarily support them to their own camp. Therefore, winning an election is about making inroads in those areas that you would not normally have support. PR, fine. I don't agree with the arguments about PR, but let us not think that PR will solve our national problem. We have a problem in Sierra Leone, and we have to look at our political culture, which is toxic. You bring in PR, it is the same that is going to happen again. It is the same thing that is going to happen again, whether we are from this, that, and everywhere. So let us address the fundamental problem of the Sierra Leonean society. Why are we like this? What is our national vision? Where are we going in 5 years? We don't have a vision. We don't have, we basically just toe the party line. And when you institute PR, when we have to rely on the parties to make a list, how fair is that? That man that wants to be an MP would have to be doing favors in order to get to the top of the list. Therefore, how democratic is that, or how representative is that?
Lina, how different is that to what we have now when parties award symbols to people to run in elections?
That is why I'm saying it goes back to how we are. Putting in a new electoral system would not change who we are. We have to address the fundamental problem of the ills of our society.
Thank you. Fatmata, your rebuttals, they might say things that you want.
Yes, well, you know, when Dr. Spencer started and he was trying to give us different kinds of lists, he even said he doesn't understand one of the lists he was trying to propagate. That's going to be the problem of the electorate, quite honestly, understanding the list and how it works. And that's going to require time.
I think what he said is that there are some types of PR
different types. He put forth of different types. Yes, and there's one he said that he didn't even understand that one. He mentioned the closed list and the open list. And we know what we practice here is going to be the closed list system. But in any case, as Lena had said, we have a problem with the political culture and also mindset. Until we untangle those and unwind those, we're not going to be able to solve this problem. We're not going to be able to achieve democracy in the manner which we think we want to, considering the number of years that we've actively practiced it, and we're not going to be able to achieve cohesion. Now, cohesion also rests with the government and the people in power for the day, because at the end of the day, there has to be a space, the environment created for the other people to feel as if they can thrive within the system. If they feel as if they're under siege, then we'll have a situation where sometimes the reaction is one that will not be something that the government would look lightly on, you know, like the recent protest that happened. But the PR system is not one that we can say, for instance, is not reflective of the minority. Because at the end of the day, we have the CSO, and most of the time what the CSOs do is to actually articulate the views of the minorities. And you cannot say, when under the first past the post system, somebody has been elected to represent you, that because you did not vote for that person will not articulate or represent your views in parliament. That cannot be tenable. Because at the end of the day, we also have to find a way to hold our leaders and representatives accountable. But when there is that disconnect, I cannot, at the next elections, voice my discontent towards my representative, because at the end of the day, there's complacency in the government and in the party, because they're on top of the list and they don't care, because at the end of the day, they'll make it to parliament regardless. And if they get 10%, I'm on the top 10, I'm going to make it regardless. So I don't care about my people. So saying that because the people come to you with demands does not make you, it's not parliamentarian enough. It's for you to actually postulate your position to your people, serve your people well, make sure there is development and progress, so your people cannot come to you for the bundle. Culture, society, as they're saying, they cannot come to you for food, but they would be content because medical facilities are working, tap water, running water, electricity, and everything else is within a society.
Thank you very much. Ambassador, one of the advantages that has been, advanced by people who believe in the PR system is that it saves money at by-elections, in which case there is no election to replace a member of parliament. But under a PR system, what happened in Tonkolili last month could not have happened. People could not have voted against the party they had first voted for when they want to make a change, because the party list will be followed and somebody else from the party will automatically come up. Doesn't that defeat democracy in itself?
That's the problem, because first and foremost, you see, we tend to advance too much politics in our people. Once it is a poor country, mind you, we are always bottom of the ladder, 10% below. We cannot afford the resources that we spend, and human and material resources we spend every now and then on elections. After the general elections, take for instance, the by-elections have become more expensive now than the general election itself. You have groups here, presidents go, other members of parliament go, they build roads where roads should not have been built, they go and give millions here where millions should not have been given. You know, the whole system is rotten because of this first past the post. As you alluded to the other day, I said, you know, in 1996 and 2002, you go to parliament, you don't get the scenes that you are getting now, because parliament was a representative of the people of this country. One people, one country, all people's Congress, everybody represented. You have people of one country, of one region representing this, and you know the country becomes one. Now it is no longer there. After 2007, what do we see? A divide. The country begins to divide. As you rightly said, you go, you see to your left, you go to your left, to your right, you say, Imperial Paseke. I mean, all these things, they are not good for the health of this country, for the development of this country, for everything that we want to move this country forward. This is a disorganized country, politically, and you cannot help it. Now, you know, after 2007, we start having camps. The Wasum stars. Now you have the Pauper stars. You have all sorts of things. This was you were never before. It's a divided country.
Thank you very much. Dr. Spencer?
If I were to ask all of us in this room, how many of us know our parliamentary representative or know our local council representative? I can guarantee that not up to 50% of us do. I don't know who my parliamentarian is. I don't know who my councillor is in my local government area. The fact remains that voting is done along party lines. We all know that. There are some parts of the country where we say you put dog safe, then go vote for them, as long as you're under the right party. So the point about people having a say in who becomes a parliamentarian, I don't think is relevant.
So, isn't it the truth that, as it is right now, even if you don't know your MP, you can easily find out and know who that MP is and hold them accountable, as opposed to under a PR system when that person was not elected specifically for your constituency?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. If I want to find my MP, yes, I can find my MP. But I don't go to my MP because I don't need anything from him in particular. My MP is not supposed to be taking care of my needs. My MP is supposed to be representing me in Parliament. He's supposed to seek my views before he goes and talks in Parliament. Do they do that? Most of them don't. They don't consult their constituents. Local government is what is supposed to deal with development issues, not parliamentarians. But the whole thing is now confused. Parliamentarians don't even know what their real functions are. Local government doesn't know what its functions are. I'm not talking about city council. Don't look at me like that. City council, not Freetown City Council.
How do you attribute that to the first past the post?
Now, look at what has been happening. I'm not talking out of the blue. The evidence is there. The situation is now such that people who win elections, it is for them and those close to them.
I'm asking, when you say some councillors don't know their functions, some MPs, does the PR system eliminate that?
No. It is something that has happened over time. It has happened over time. My point is, if we do not put the brakes on now and look at the system we're operating and change, we are going to continue going downhill, which is where we're headed. Right downhill, we are going to fall off a cliff pretty soon if we're not careful. I believe that the system for electing parliamentarians and the way I call it the spoils are distributed, I call it the national cake in my play. The way the national cake is distributed, it is kept to one group. Whoever wins gets the whole cake. The rest don't get.
Thank you very much. Famata Sori, let me give you these figures. In 2018, the elections we last held, the NGC got 9% of the total votes in the country, but it got 3% of the seats in parliament. The C4C, which got 5% of the total votes in the country, got 6% of the seats in parliament. You think that's democratic enough, representative enough of the votes?
Well, we know the constituency system relates to the population and numbers. So it's the numbers that carry the day at the end of the day, but at least there's representation. So you cannot say there's currently no representation in parliament.
Fair representation.
So that's why we started. When I started my debate, I said to you there is no true system that will work that without its hindrances or challenges. But what we're trying to show is that at least the PR system does not tip the scale when it comes to first past the post, because first past the post has its own merits, and most of it is enshrined in a 1991 constitution, which is the ground norm of the land. And so if you want to change it, you're going to change significant things. Don't forget the 1991 constitution came into being as a result of a referendum, and we have to be mindful of what went on before we got to where we are today, and so we have to respect that. But regardless, there's representation, Omaro, and that doesn't change anything, because the PR system will give you representation, but we have all the challenges. So it doesn't solve the situation. The change is not with the system. The change is with the people and the mindset.
And you think that can't be fixed by dealing with the electoral system at all?
No, it's not with the electoral system, it's with the people. Get the people to understand that the political culture has to change. That is one. Get our parliamentarians to understand what their roles and responsibilities are. Get to make the governance structure to work properly so that it's fairness, equal play, and justice, and other minority parties or minority people within society have space to thrive. Continue to open the space for CSO, who would usually articulate the views of the minorities with the work that they do on gender issues or political issues, you name it. So the climate has to be there, and that is what brings national cohesion. And we cannot talk about this thing without referring to Chapter 2 of our Constitution, which relates to some of the roles and responsibilities and the state policy that our government should be looking at. And if actually the institutions are there to make sure things work out the way so that we as citizens can enjoy the rights, the roles and responsibilities under the Constitution. And as well, we should note that voting is a civic right. Taking it away from the people is a disenfranchisement.
You think PR takes seats away from the people?
It does.
It's their votes that will eventually count in allocating seats, is it?
But not with respect to who represents them. But it will...
Go on, just complete.
But it will rather be with respect to the parties and the list. but it does not actually communicate their dissent or disapproval to certain individuals or parties, as the case may be, because the proportional system would actually give the parties representation regardless of the people's views. So that is why it is important for their voices to be heard and the opportunity to vote, so that at the next elections, the change that they want would happen.
Thank you. Lena, I hope I got it right this time, eh? Lena, some people who support the PR system say that it's ironic that a woman can be opposed to it because they feel it's the most assured way of ensuring that women go to parliament proportionate to their population. In other words, they argue that you can easily prepare your list for a district and say 1 man, 1 woman, 1 man, 1 woman, thereby getting more women in parliament. What say you?
And how realistic is that? How are the political parties actually doing that? It's ironic, you say it's ironic being a woman and opposing. We are all not the same. I might be a woman, but I have a different opinion from any other woman. But yes, I have seen the arguments about it being more conducive to women. At the same time, first past the post can also be conducive to women, because at the end of the day, it is the political parties that make the decisions whether or not to select females as candidates. So we can have a first pass, a PR system, okay? We can have that, but who says, what is the guarantee that says that political parties are going to select women anyway?
If there's a law that we should have 30% for women at the very least, doesn't that oblige them to have that?
30%. It should be 50%.
Well, let's call it whatever we may. If there's a law that says that, doesn't that guarantee it under the system?
Yes, it guarantees it, but at the same time, when we are choosing our when we are choosing the people who should represent us, we have to ensure not only that it is representative, but also effective. You can have 100% women in parliament, but they have to be also effective. I am not saying that if women go there, they are not effective, but we have to choose people who would ensure women who would be there and not be there only to serve numbers. We have to ensure we have females who are there, who are effective people, who actually speak, who actually ask questions, and who actually demand to be seen as citizens of this country.
If you were a man, Lena, I would accuse you of misogyny.
No, it's not. It's the reality. It's the truth. It is fine that we want, and I'm not arguing against 30% for women. In a country like this, we need those quotas because it would not necessarily happen. But what I am saying is our political system, the political parties have to ensure that these quotas are met, and also have to be honest enough to put women where they are supposed to be there.
Thank you very much. It's 1 hour, so we pass the microphones on to you, the audience. Thank you very much. You have a microphone, please. I'll go from left to right, contrary to what I did here, right to left. So I saw that hand first. Please tell us your name, and you have 1 minute, please, to make your intervention.
Yes, Justice Leonard Taylor, and I will base my question with an example. Now, in the PR system, let us assume that you need 5% to get a seat. Party A has 4%. Party B has 3%. Party C, 2%. And then there's an independent candidate who only has 1%. Now, all these separate parties do not have enough to make a seat. Now, how does the PR system address that question? Secondly, with respect to national cohesion, I agree, my take is that The problem is not with respect to our electoral system. Now, the electoral system, regardless of whether it's PR or first past the post, is really, really a mess. In our own constitution, there is a provision which states that if a parliamentarian does not support what his party is saying, he will be punished. If we have a PR system, it will be even worse, because parliamentarians will be there only acclaiming what their party is interested in, and at the end of the day, hoping that they will be put higher on the list in the next election. So, which is what we are still suffering now, even when we have the first pass. So our problem with respect to national cohesion from this perspective is not with respect to the manner in which we select our parliamentarians at all. It is the whole system itself that has to be overhauled.
Thank you very much, Justice. I see no hands. Okay, yes, Sarata. There's a hand here.
Thank you. What I was thinking about when the gentleman there asked if people do know who their MPs are was that I don't know who my MP is, and I know a lot of people don't. Now, how do you get to know who your MP is in the first place? And what do MPs do? I mean, like, do they have a job description? What do? Do they hold surgeries that people can go and actually talk about their real problems, not the fact that their mum died last night or whatever? How do we help these things to happen in society? I'm on your side. I'm on the side of the two ladies, not for obvious reasons. But I cannot see that PR will solve our problems in Australia because they're far too entrenched. The society is far too divided. And also, we need a lot of education and help. In the UK, we were talking about PR for over 20 years. It never happened, and we do have small parties with special interests, like the Green Party, for example, who were really doing well in certain sections of the society. And it never happened for them. They never made that leap into Parliament in the way that they would be able to affect some policies that would reflect what it was that they were pushing forward. I don't know that we have those special interest groups in this country. And I think that we need a lot of education, we need a lot of help. And unfortunately, PR at this time, when we can't even manage to get running water into homes, and I'm sorry to go off tangent, or we can't even, buy petrol for the bus to take the kids to school. That's stopped, by the way. We need to get the basics done. How can we talk about PR when nobody's ready for it?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Saw a hand here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'm Isaac Masakoi from Frabe College. I'm on this side of the debate. If I'm going to take an exam in the papers written by Dr. Spencer since 2008, I'll pass any day, because I've been reading them really well. And, from time to time, I talk to him about these things. I'm haunted by my past. I grew up in this city. I've lived there for more than 40 years. So I know, and I lived at Brookfields area. There was no UE building at that time. So that gives you an idea of what I'm talking about. So, and I know what this constituency thing does, By-elections, we've talked about, but I really hate by-elections in this country. Because suddenly, the whole country descends on one small part of the country. And they are harassing the people there. There's violence, the media is there, CSOs are running all over the place, security forces deployed. So if we can get out of that system now, I'll be very happy. That's one of the points I want to make. Also, in terms of the list system, I don't want to roll scare as to what parties will do. Let's agree to have the PR, and then we can work out the details as to how that list is done.
Even if the devil is in the detail. Even if the devil is in the detail.
Well, we will exercise the devil. The point I'm making, when the parties come to select the members of their list, they are not stupid. So I come from Pujon district, which is in the south. And in that district, it's a very diverse district. You have Vai people there, the Gola, you have the Krim people on the riverline. If you are a member of parliament, a party running in that district, make the mistake of choosing your MPs from one part of the district and see what will happen. Because in that district, there is an independent MP there that won the election over the dominant party there by more than 4,000 votes in 2018. This idea of people not knowing what to do is not true.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll take one here and then move us. There's a hand there. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. I'm also from FBC, but not. I think I would be at the side of those who represent the future there, and younger and so. And the question there about PR is that we are taking an executive problem and then shoving it to the legislation, to the legislative. It's PR is about, we talk about social cohesion. Social cohesion is with the executive branch of government. It's about how we structure that branch of government. So this whole debate is misplaced. What we need to talk about is executive power, not legislative power here. This PR, not PR.
AYV is your home of
I see a hand there. Yeah.
Zuman, thank you very much. My name is Andrew Lavali. I'm from the Institute for Governance Reform. I represent no side, and maybe that's why I'm in the middle. I'm in Jibril, to be honest. There was no fight between SLPP and APC in 1996. As a matter of fact, the rebels threatened us that they will cut our limbs if we dare vote. That's why there was a war. So, but I just have some questions that I want the two panels to clarify. We've done some calculations. Close to $6 million is being spent on 44 by-elections in the past 3 elections since 2007. We have currently about 23% of our members of parliament did not achieve 50% of their votes to get there. So I don't know, how do we reconcile the two? How do we correct this? And both sides are right. No, there is no perfect electoral system. Whether it's what they call personalization of electoral systems or party-based electoral systems, there is no perfect electoral system. But socially, we have to find out the best option, the second best scenario. So how do we, in the light of waste, in the light of gender representation, what's the second best scenario? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll come to this side. Yes, the man behind the glasses there, please.
Thank you very much. Hassan Sano, I am the author of the book, A Born Leader, Military Rule to Democratic Civilian Rule. I was looking at the historical perspective of all of this. Luckily for us, we've tested both the PR and the first past the post system. Well, since 1951, Sierra Leone started having presidential and local elections to 1962. Well, I don't want to talk about the 1967 elections, which generally had to do with 1967 to 68. We had a one-party rule to 1996, nearly 3 decades, 30 years of single-party system and about 5 years of military rule. So we actually start talking about democracy. Sierra Leone is very young with democracy. We actually start talking about democracy when we talk about maybe perhaps the 2002 elections. We had elections in 96, mainly because the people we are calling for elections before peace, during war, as the civil society man said. But the 2002 elections, as compared to the subsequent other elections, you see the difference. In 2002, we had the PR system, but the kind of tension we are seeing today, we did not see such, even though, well, one may say it was between SLPP and UNPP, Kefra Smart, and Kaba then, but the kind of tension, political tension within, in relation with the topic of the discourse, I think it is time we go back to the PR system and maybe we can try to quell down the political tension, particularly when we have a multi-party system, but dominated by two-party systems, two political parties rather. This is what is happening. It is time we give room for smaller parties who have representation to have a say in the governance of the country. So PR system, I go with the other side.
Thank you very much. That same wing, I will take, there's a hand right there. Right there. No, so I'm staying with that and then I come this way again. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry. I quite agree with Dr. Sise that when you talk about system, basically it guarantee that introduced would have a violent re-election. And basically what we have to understand is that much of the tension that we experience in our country emanates from decisions of the executive arm of government. We know in theory that all the arms of government are equal, but in reality in Sierra Leone, the executive arm is more powerful than the other two arms. So you would find out that executive decisions are made which would lead to people losing their jobs. And when people know that their livelihood depends on the party that is in governance, then you begin to understand why we're experiencing all of these tensions. So irrespective of the system that we have at the parliamentary level, the fact remains that when executive decisions are made that would affect the livelihoods of people, you would find ways to
I'll give it. Yes. Sorry, could we fix the microphone, please?
Yeah. Take this one.
Said that the other point that I want to drum home, which I think is critically important here, relates to the point made by my senior there, Dr. Masakoi. Situation in which an independent candidate defeated the SLPP in an election. With a PR system, an individual who is dissatisfied with a list drawn up by the party does not have the opportunity to contest elections. So it deprives individuals. I do not subscribe of all of these political parties, of my people. Contest elections and to defeat whosoever, any political. The PR system was party supremacy over people supremacy. That in itself undermines the notion of democracy, because democracy is a government of the people, for the people, by the people, and with. So I am pretty much sure that this House would agree with me. We should, with the first past the post system.
Thank you.
Because it guarantees a seat. People represent them in parliament.
Okay, thank you very much. Just a quick clarification there. I'm informed by the Electoral Commission of Sierra Leone that if the PR system sees the light of day, it will make provision for independent candidates. Just so we get that right. It will make provision for independent candidates. And there's a formula. No, just.
Okay. That's an important clarification.
No, that's fine. I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, the PR system as we know it, as was used in 1996 and 2002, I stand to be corrected because I was much younger then. I stand to be corrected. The PR system that was used in 1996
did not
and 2002 did not cater for that.
You're right.
So would need further clarification as for independent candidates.
Okay, thank you very much.
And just a quick point.
Sorry, Mr. Mansell, I'm sorry. I'm giving like 3 minutes. We need to move the microphone now. Sorry, here. Now move it this way, please. Yes, please.
Thank you very much. One of the fundamental, Daniel Bondo, barrister and solicitor, one of the fundamental problems with parliamentary representation is loyalty to political parties as opposed to real democratic governance. A question here, to what extent does the PR system reinforce Article 77 IJK in the 1991 Constitution that allows for MPs to be removed from Parliament if they sat with and voted with the opposition, where members of Parliament are not sent to Parliament by their constituents, but their fate are determined by political parties. I have a personal experience in 1996 and the district block system in 2002 when a bill went to Parliament, and I can quote here Honorable Dambo was going to vote against that particular bill, and the late Teacher Lagar, who was the SLPP leader in Parliament at the time, threatened that he would be removed from Parliament if he voted against that particular agreement, which was an American loan to the government of Sierra Leone, citing Article 77K. So to what extent does this panel agree with me that the PR system will reinforce loyalty to political parties as opposed to defending the interest of their constituents or the interest of the country?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll take the back and then come to the front and come this way and go. So this way, please.
Well,
no hands in the back. So yes, I'll come to the mayor. One. Yes, please.
Yvonne Akisoya. So I really loved the opening statement that Famata used. She said, first past the post is being used as a scapegoat for the ills of our political system. And that's where I'd like to start. And then I'd like to jump to Dr. Spencer, who speaks with such nostalgia of being in a cabinet that reflected all the people from all over the country. Dr. Spencer, as Umar pointed out, that was more about the leader at the time. The PR system does not guarantee you having a representative cabinet. It's not part of the bill. It's not part of the system. It speaks only about how the parliamentarians find their way to Parliament. The other point that's come up quite a bit, again, scapegoating, the first past the post, is this business of MPs and their role versus local authorities who don't know what their job is, I think it was said. But the point with that is, where is the provision? MPs were given development grants. Ward councillors were not. These are executive decisions which impact the way governance is done. This is where the problem lies. The problem lies in how we do politics, how we do governance. And I want to just close with this. Fatmata, again, quoting you, talked about the complexity of the PR system. And we've certainly heard and seen that. The different types, whether the list is closed, whether the list is opened, the fact that our electorate is largely illiterate. We have so many people who are going to be confused. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an MP, but I do think, if I'm right, that there's a provision, there's an ECOWAS article that actually recommends that electoral systems are not changed within 12 months of a general election. And there's a reason for that. Because complexity will lead to confusion of our voters, and that in itself will disenfranchise them and will take us away from democracy. As Dr. Spencer said, this is a complex system. If we want to introduce it, let's not rush. Let's take our time. Let's understand what kind of list we'll use, what kind of PR system we'll use. Surely there's no reason why this must be done within the next 11 months, given the fact that we're dealing with a population that is unaccustomed to this level of change, are unsophisticated enough to be able to not void the votes in the existing system. So I'd like to humbly speak in favor of the ladies. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right.
Thank you very much. Soisengbe Maya. So a couple of thoughts I have on this issue. I've been speaking for the past 2 hours to some electoral stakeholders on the public elections bill. I am, disclaimer, entirely against the public elections bill, seeking to craft some provisions that would affect the Constitution of Sierra Leone. But I don't think we should be speaking in hypotheses, really, because we have utilized the PI system. We have also utilized the first past the post. Let's look at the numbers. And I like what Andrew shared earlier today. I read your piece. And Dr. Spencer spoke about national cohesion, a representative government. We have to deliberately craft some of these social values. We can't get them under the winner-takes-all system. It's impossible to get them. We can have a quota system through the PI system. We have to deliberately set a legislative machinery in force. Once we do that, we can now go into, dotting the I's and crossing the T's in terms of that system. It's not without its flaws, but we can craft a political system that is deliberate and purposeful towards national cohesion. As Satyana was extremely elated when he spoke about a government with many shades of opinion, several political parties. And I looked at the piece Andrew shared, UNPP, PDP, several political parties. We can't have this with a winner-takes-all system. So we have to adopt a system that is deliberate towards national cohesion. Once we have the legislative pedestal, we can now work the numbers in terms of making sure that we have a safeguard. But winner-takes-all has time and time again shown that it's not workable, it's not functional. We need a deliberate and a purposeful system that is geared towards national cohesion. And on that note, I think I'm joining the guys on this side. And yes, PR system with all the mechanics that would make it work.
Thank you very much. I'll come here. Yes, in the back. Sorry, I explained the formula. It's here, here, and here. So here. Yes, the guy in the back there, please. Yes. No, this way. So I'll come back to you, but that way, please. Right, thank you. So I can't hear you.
Charles Kefkobai, National Elections Watch. What I've not heard from all of the speakers is the fact that nobody, especially from the side of the PR proponents, nobody has given us empirical analysis as to the advantages in the PR system since Sierra Leone 1996 and 2002.
Okay, maybe a couple minutes. Yeah, so.
And in 2002, we saw too many cross-carpeting of those parties you've highlighted that were in parliament. because of the PR system. If you have a system of the first past the post, you are also bound by the interest of your electorate you to parliament to represent them, whilst you also represent your political party in parliament. So cross-carpeting is a little much restrictive within the first past the post, as we've seen over the last 14 years, compared to when we had the PR system. And again, like one speaker said, we are debating something that is already in violation of an international treaty that Sierra Leone is also a signatory of. We are barely 11 months, 2 weeks to elections, and we are discussing a bill that we want to pass that will usher in the 2023 elections. So by virtue of the fact that as a country, being a signatory, we are in breach of that protocol. Two, the first past the post guarantees, like Umar Fofana said initially, had it not been a new MP from an opposition if it were the PR system, you are just going to follow through down the line of who was next in line, and that next in line will now come to Parliament to represent the political party's interest and not the interest of the constituents of constituency 056. So we also need to look at all of these variables. Does it help the country at the point that we are now preparing for 2020 elections, or do we give time after elections to really come back and look at this, all of the variables, the advantages and disadvantages, whether it will benefit the country before we opt for it? And lastly, somebody mentioned we spent 40-something billion. But again, we should understand, it's part of our democracy. We don't have
million on the currency.
Yeah, we don't have we don't have a midterm electoral system. So in order to absorb that, we have the by-election. So that if we lose a parliamentarian, we opt for the by-election. If we have had a system of, say, midterm elections, then you wait for midterm and then you do your elections to replace. So for me, it is not the system. Like Ibrahim said, practice of our elected officials, especially the executive arm of government, that has brought about the confusion we have in our national cohesion.
Thank you very much. I will just tweak my formula a little bit, and I'll take the lady, and then I'll take the last person to that side, and then I'll come to the panelists, please.
Thank you.
1 minute.
Rhoda Nuni, barrister and solicitor. This question is for Mrs. Sori. You made a statement that the PR system may take Parliament further away from the people if not managed well. My question to you is, in light of the current situation in the first past the post system, wherein generally people don't know their parliamentarians, they just vote as most people think on party lines, what would be the formula currently that you would propose if, as you're arguing in favor of the first past the post system, that would make it a bit more advantageous over the PR system?
Thank you.
And for you, Dr. Spencer, on the other side, since you were opportune to have been part of the last PR system, I would want to know, for instance, when it comes to having women representatives on the list, in order to avoid having tokenism, as it were, to say, like, you know, in some countries, people say affirmative action is sometimes not affirmative enough because you end up getting people who are not actually very qualified for the positions. What was done in your, as far as you know, to get the most qualified women on that list? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take one from this side. Yes, please, there's a hand here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Ibrahim Sori is the name.
Are you disagreeing with the wife here?
No, I am supporting. I'm on that side. And I'm supporting it because I believe that the PR system is quite an unfair system, and it's a system that, even though it may have some form of democratic tenets, is essentially undemocratic and essentially a system dressed in borrowed robes. And why do I say that? I say that, let me give practical examples, or practical scenarios. So for instance, let me take the example of my paternal district, Cambia. And there are 6 constituencies as of now. I don't know what the new census will determine, but there are 6 constituencies, and that's how it's been for the past 2 election cycles. And let us say, for instance, Party A puts a list, and everyone in that list, the first 6 names of Party A, all represent a particular constituency, one constituency. Yeah. And then during the course or during the cycle of the life of Parliament, the seat becomes vacant, either through the person becoming a minister, the person becoming an ambassador, or the person dying, or whatever circumstances, or the person resigns because he has an issue with the leadership or whatever. But in that case, you have these 6 names representing 6 constituencies, and let's say that Party A clears all 6 seats, and then you have the 7th name represents maybe the 1st constituency. So, for instance, Cambia Central, but the person came from Cambia Northwest. The person who resigned or who died or whose seat is vacated comes from Cambia Northwest. There you have a situation of Cambia Central being overrepresented and Cambia Northwest no representation, in fact. And then you have another situation of where you can have people just go to Parliament by piggybacking on the popularity of others. And what do I mean by that? So again, Cambia, you have 6 members. In this case, instead of the party clearing everybody, one party clearing all the seats there, this party only clears, Party A only clears 3 seats. But candidate 1, or the person first listed, the person first on the list, scores only maybe 100 votes. Candidate 2 scores 200 votes. Candidate 3 scores 300 votes. But candidate 6, who is probably the most popular person of all the 6 candidates put together, scores 20,000 votes, can't make it on the list, can't get a seat because his name is down on the list. And why is his name down on the list?
But how do you know that candidate 6 scored the highest votes?
Because there will be voting by areas.
No, they'll be voting. I think we need to understand a bit more.
I understand how it operates, and usually how it operates, even though it's a district block system, the candidates would be placed by constituencies. Normally using the old line, you would not put all 6 candidates from Cambia Central from one constituency. You'd have to spread them across. So if
sorry, we're running out of time, but let me just quickly say what I know. Thank you very much for that. But that's a very good point you brought. As we go on with this debate, more and more issues will come up. What I have been informed about is, as I kept reading yesterday, preparing for today's debate, is this. The proposal is for districts to drop their list, or parties to drop their list based on districts. So whoever votes in District A will be voting for the party of their choice in that district. And the total number of valid votes will be divided by the number of seats in that district to determine which party gets what percentage of the seats. And I'm informed, and I think I need to let you know this, that the threshold is going to be the barest minimum needed to win 1 seat in a district. That is going to be the threshold. But it's up to those whose... It will depend on the number of registered voters in the district. But as I said, it's up to them to let the public understand this. And I just thought I needed to clarify this point. I'll come to my panelists to respond to so many issues that have been raised here. Unfortunately, we don't have luxury of time, so I'm going to restrict them to 2 minutes. I will start here. Dr. Spencer.
Thank you. I don't know what the problem is. Either most of you did not hear what I said, or your mind is closed, focusing on 1996 and 2002. I have not been advocating for what happened in 2002 or 1996. I'm talking about proportional representation in general. I am not advocating for it to happen now. In fact, I did say that there needs to be a lot of discussion and dialogue. We need to determine what we need as a people. I'm not advocating, I've not even read the bill. I don't know what is in the bill. I don't know what is in the bill, really. That's the truth. So I'm not arguing for a bill. I'm arguing for the system. And I said also that we can craft our own system. What is stopping us from determining that to get on that list, you have to have the members of that party in that district have to vote for you? What is stopping us from doing that? So what I'm saying is, let us open our minds. Maybe it's because I'm a creative thinker. I do not think along normal lines. So I'm saying to you that proportional representation, by its very nature, has advantages over the first past the post. And our history has shown us that that is the case. So, yes, we have all these problems. How are we going to stop, reflect, and change course? If we continue with the path we are taking, we will never change course. We'll just continue going downhill. So I'm not saying we should have proportional representation for the next elections. I don't think it is possible for us to do it right. I'm saying I've started talking about this since 2008. Not even last year, since 2008. I've said all the time that we have to have a real national debate, open it up, let us examine the possibilities and determine what we need for ourselves as a people, just like we have to review our economic system. All the systems we are practicing in Sierra Leone were not meant for us. They are brought by the colonialists and left for us. They are all exploitative. So if we do not rethink and look again at ourselves and what we are, how we've been going along, and change course, and I believe that the electoral system has a major role to play in where we are today. Thank you.
Sorry, Doug, before you go, please, just in maybe 1 minute or less. Earlier, you spoke about the PR system being extended to the cabinet, to the cabinet itself. How does that work? And I ask this with it in my head, that one of the best PR systems probably is in Israel. It's a parliamentary democracy. How does this work in a presidential system?
It depends on what we want. That's why I say, for me, the proportional representation system should start from the top, go right down. From the executive, whoever runs for president, which party gets the largest number of votes, gets the largest number of cabinet ministers, whatever, ambassadors, parastatals, etc. Let us allocate them based on the number of votes you got.
Okay.
That makes it easier for us all to come together and agree. I say again, right now, a party wins election, all they're thinking about, how do they retain power? Those that lose, how do they get them out of power? That's all.
Thank you very much. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. You know, what I have observed this evening is that majority of the people here, deep down, they are not against the message, but probably the messenger, the person bringing the message. This is my own observation, and I believe strongly that people here, given the pros and cons of the past the post and the proportional representation, they will go for proportional representation. But probably they are scared stiff at the time in which this message is being brought, and the way and manner in which it's being brought. That's why they are apprehensive.
So you also agree that it's a good system, but wait, not for 2023?
Well, probably people are thinking that, why is it now? And who is bringing it? It's not the message. It's the messenger that they are probably against, or they are scared. They are very jittery that, who is bringing this message at this time? They have something, their ulterior motive behind this. That is what I sense in this debate.
Could that be paranoia?
And paranoia, probably. But let me tell you something. You know, of course, the judge we are talking about, the threshold, that can be fixed. You know, the parliamentary system we've had in 1996, about 12 political parties, but only so many were able to make the threshold. That could be fixed. And people talking about political parties and independence of the MP, first and foremost, before a party gives you a symbol, because it's a party that gives you the symbol, you have to support or to agree to the manifesto. An MP does not go to contest on his own manifesto, on the manifesto of a party. So you have to respect that manifesto. If you misbehave, the party should have the right to kick you out.
Even if that misbehavior means serving your conscience and voting.
Yeah, but the party has a manifesto. You subscribe to that manifesto. You resign before. Because, no, come on. It's not your own. Otherwise, go and set up, go as an independent. With provisions are there. But if I go under this party and I contest under a party, then by force, I have to abide by the rules of that party.
But in democracies, Ambassador,
that is why you have the right, that is why you have the opportunity to go to a party that satisfies you, or you go independent.
Okay.
But if I contest under this party and the rules of the party, I send you to parliament, you have to stay by the mix of that party.
Even when our parties don't have any ideologies.
No. There's no party, because you go to an election with a manifesto, okay. And that is what you're going to stick by.
Okay, Ambassador.
Okay. Then please, what's one more?
Quickly, Ambassador, we're out of time, please.
Okay, I know we're out of time. You see, one thing these women fail to realize, especially those on the other side. No, serious. Because we are talking. Listen to me. We are talking about 30%. You can never achieve a 30% if with the first past the post.
Do you mean these women or women?
You can only achieve a 30% as of now with a list system, which is the proportional representation. 10 people, if you want to, you cannot legislate by saying give them 30% without certain modalities. The only modality that guarantee you 30% is the proportional representation that will say 10 people, you put 3 there as women. You want this, that's the only system. Women, from studies, women are the ones who don't even vote for women at general elections.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Thank you so much. Madam, this is sorry.
Let me start off from when the ambassador ended and let him know that when we had proportional representation in 1996, there were only 5 elected women. And the number was very low as compared to when we started in 2012 with 13% and 16 women, and 5th Parliament, there were 12% with 18 women. And even though you see a reduction in the number, it's because of the increase in the number of the parliamentary seats from 124 to 132. PR systems do not guarantee female representation. If there was a need if we want female representation, we have to change our constitution. It is based on what my observation is and my interactions with Parliament. I see the need for constitutional reform.
Which area do we need to change to represent women fairly?
Which area? The election part, the election laws, and then we give NEC and PPRC the powers to regulate the parties, the list that they put.
AYV is your home of credible, factual, and balanced news coverage. We pride ourselves as the nation's most trusted news source. Because of this, our brand is likely to be used to spread fake news. To verify our stories, please check our various social media pages, visit our website on www.ayvnews.com, or send us an email to info@ayvnews.com.
Looking for a new dimension in hospitality? Then, welcome to Fabulous Resort, located in the gem of West Africa. With a discreet and personalized service, this is a perfect beach getaway retreat for honeymooners, couples, friends, group, and solo travelers. Our Our resort is ideal for hosting barbecue parties, dinners, and private events for friends and loved ones. At Fabulous Resort, everything is as it ought to be. Some of our facilities include a pristine infinity pool for adults and kids, a fully equipped event hall with full sound system, projector, and Wi-Fi coverage for up to 250 guests, an elegant conference room for presentation and workshops, complete with a projector, a private beach with captivating black sand ideal for skin rejuvenation and exploration, an exciting playground for the kids, but the adults can also have fun. As for accommodation space, all you have to do is choose from our family house with 3 bedrooms and suites or living rooms, family chalet with a spacious room along with dinner room or kitchenette, single chalet with a bathroom or a single room for up to 2 guests. All rooms comes with air conditioners, TV, water heaters, free Wi-Fi, and 24-hour electricity included. Our restaurant offers a wide range of a la carte menu options, perfectly cooked using the basic local ingredients, offering you a premium taste of the finest produce, seafood, vegetable, fruits, coffee, tea, and other delights. Explore the Fabulous Resort today and visit us at Fabulous Avenue, York Village, Freetown, Peninsula. For bookings and reservations, call +232 79 666 600 or email us at info@fabulousresort.com. Fabulous Resort, situated along the tropical shores of Sierra Leone.
Yes, for a healthy, active, and very strong immune system, Immunoactive Denk is your best bet. Immunoactive Denk, manufactured in Germany by Denk Pharma Limited, contains the most important nutrient in one state that builds and gives power to the antibodies in the immune system to fight against common cold and other diseases in difficult times. Immunoactive is recommended for the family from age 12 and older and must be taken once daily. Hurry now! Go grab your own package of Immunoactive Denk, available in all drugstores and pharmacies across the country. For wholesales, go to Global Distribution, or better still call them on 030-355-424 or 078-000-444. Denk Pharma, quality for your health, made in Germany.
That's it. Creating jobs for Sierra Leoneans.
What in this? How much this?
Na 250 leon, sir. Na for content, sir.
I don't contact me. I'm not saying na 250 leon. But how you can give me 250 leon when me pension at 250,000 leon between una the bank and Nasit? Una go give me balance money.
Good day, sir. I hear you the vex. Now what's happen?
Me Nasit pension. Na 250,000 leon. But na 250 leon they can't give me now. How? Una want tip me money?
No, sir. Nobody know one for thief you money. And we not cut by your money. Bank of Salon don't redenominate the Salon currency. They don't pull 30 come out by we money. So today, you may get 250,000 leon. Now, na 250 leon. The value of the money, na still the same.
But what did me go buy with 250 leon? Eh? What did 250 leon they buy now in this country?
Sir, if you been to buy pepper 5,000 leon per cup, now na 5 leon you go spend for the same 1 cup pepper. If you been to pay 3,000 leon for transport, for can a bank, for can take you Nasit pension, now na 3 leon, now you go to pay.
I see. Now I understand. Well, make I go. Me Nasit, me new leon.
Nasit, we care.
Queen Elizabeth Academy School and Child Care Center will be having a brand new opening at number 45 at Shell Crescent Hill Station branch, a branch from the main school situated at number 11 4th Street, Kisii, where love and learning is our utmost priority benchmark. We are now enrolling kids with limited and highly competitive spaces. If you believe a day is to be spent with joy, excitement, curiosity, and learning experience, especially for kids, QEA is the place for your little ones. We are a leading, highly specialized, authorized and licensed school child care center in the country with an amazing child-friendly environment and specialized teachings. We offer part-time, full-time school hours after-school club for 3 months to 5 years old children. We also have a full playing center and day parties only on Saturday. For more information, contact us on +232 75021 007 or +232 34 518 866. Or you can also contact us on 076 656 505.
We currently operate from 14 branches, strategically scattered around Sierra Leone. We have 7 branches in Freetown and another 7 branches in the provinces. Our objective as a bank is to take financial services to the remotest areas of Sierra Leone. We also have 24 ATMs scattered around the country. Presently, we are the highest capitalized bank in the country, and for so many years, the most profitable bank in the country. We currently play in the corporate, the commercial, and the retail segments of the industry through our rich human capital, robust technology platform, and also customer-centric products. We lay emphasis on products that promote financial inclusion. As a bank, we believe that we need to give back to the society where we actually operate. And in recent years, we have actually done a lot of projects, especially in the education sector, which aligns with the policy of the government on free education.
This game, a guy bar. I know, you know, they know, everybody know. It's showtime, and it's the best time.
Yeah. Last couple standing.
I know one for me is this fight. Yeah. Housemates don't come, my housemates alone. My house, let the drama begin. I know one for me is this fight. Yeah. Housemates don't come, my housemates alone. My house, let the drama begin.